In 1912, over 700 people traveled in third class on the Titanic. Most of them barely show up in the official accounts. While the first-class lounges were photographed in detail, life down in the lower corridors remained largely invisible. Down here, entire families slept in bunk beds, shared bathrooms, simple meals, and one dream: to start over on the other side of the Atlantic. Before we meet the people who actually live down here, like this video, subscribe to the channel and follow every detail of this story that almost disappeared. In third class on the Titanic, boarding begins with long, quiet lines. Passengers show simple tickets and hand over the few bags they carry. Agents check documents and run quick inspections with little explanation. Many immigrants are leaving rural villages and poor city neighborhoods for the first time. For most of them, the ship is not a symbol of luxury. It is a real chance to cross the Atlantic. As they walk up the gangway and enter through the side access doors, it is already clear there are places they will be allowed to go, and others they will never see. Inside the third-class cabins, each family turns a few square feet into a temporary home. Suitcases are opened on the floor, clothes are folded and divided between parents and children. Most bring only the bare minimum: documents, some changes of clothes, and a handful of personal items. Photographs, religious medals, and letters are stored carefully and placed close to the bed. They know they will only stay in this space for a few days. Still, they organize everything as if it would last much longer. For people crossing an ocean with almost nothing, keeping order in a tiny room is a way to preserve dignity and a sense of control. In the third-class dining room, the first meals reveal a new shared routine. Long tables bring together passengers from different countries, different languages, and very similar stories. The food is simple, but for many, it is better than what they had on land. Hot soup, bread, potatoes, a bit of meat. People watch one another, trying to recognize accents and origins by gestures and clothing. Without understanding every word, many communicate through glances, brief smiles, and small gestures of sharing. These communal tables turn total strangers into temporary neighbors for the crossing. On third-class nights, one of the few forms of leisure is improvised music in simple rooms. Some passengers brought violins, accordions, or flutes, guarded carefully since boarding. When someone starts to play, the atmosphere changes. Benches are dragged closer, children gather around, and adults form small circles. There is no stage and no official schedule. Each group creates its own gathering, mixing songs from several countries. For many immigrants, these tunes bring back the villages and festivals they left behind. For a few minutes, the ship stops being just a means of transport and becomes a shared living space. In the third-class corridors, the day starts early and ends late. People walk back and forth all the time. Some head to the dining room, others to the bathrooms, or to the deck they are allowed to use. Children cross the same space as rushed crew members, baggage carts, and cleaning buckets. The lights stay on constantly, but the atmosphere shifts with the time of day. In the morning, the flow is more organized. At night, it grows thinner and more quiet. For those living on these lower levels, the corridor works as main street, waiting room and meeting point all at once. This is where many passengers spend most of the voyage, trying to get used to the constant sound of the Titanic's engines. As they explore the ship, many third-class passengers begin to notice clear limits. Some doors lead to brighter, more decorated areas, but they are almost always closed or guarded. Simple signs, chains, and the constant presence of crew members mark how far each person can go. When someone gets too close, the answer is usually polite but firm. They need to turn back. These small encounters reveal that even inside the same ship, not everyone is making the same journey. The separation is not only physical, it reinforces, day after day, who has access to comfort and who remains on the lower decks. As the Titanic moves through the North Atlantic, the motion of the sea becomes more noticeable. In third class, the role of the ship is felt first in the simplest things. Cutlery vibrates, glasses slide a few millimeters, doors creak a little louder. Some passengers, used to previous trips, keep their routine without worrying much. Others, with less experience, look up at the ceiling and walls, trying to judge if this movement is normal. The sound of the engines remains constant, but the mix of vibration and slight tilt changes how the space feels. For those who live down below, each change in the ship's role is a reminder that they are at the heart of a gigantic structure, surrounded by water in every direction. As the days go by, the Titanic's architecture makes the separation between classes even clearer. For third-class passengers, most of life happens in corridors, cramped cabins, and a few common areas. Stairways, locked doors, and discreet signs are constant reminders that there are parts of the ship they will never enter. This daily limit creates the feeling of traveling on a different Titanic, below the line of sight of luxury. Even without open protests, many sense that social distance is being translated into physical distance inside the ship's own structure. The voyage continues, but always within clearly marked boundaries. In third class, the ship's formal rules are rarely explained in detail. What really organizes daily life are unwritten norms, learned on the fly. Crew members point out paths, correct routes, and control behavior with quick gestures. Children can play, but not run in certain corridors. Some benches and spaces feel reserved, even with no sign at all. Passengers learn by watching who can walk through without being stopped and who is told to turn around. In this way, the Titanic's social hierarchy becomes visible in every movement from one corridor to the next. As the days pass, third-class passengers get a clearer sense of which doors will never open for them. Some access points stay locked all the time. Others open only for crew members and people from the upper classes. Each detour ordered by a sailor reinforces the feeling that there are two different ships inside the same hull. The most famous accounts almost never show these corridors and internal barriers. If you want to keep following this journey through the eyes of those who rarely appear in Titanic stories, like this video, subscribe to the channel, and stay with these people until the end of the voyage. On one of the days at sea, the third-class routine is interrupted by a stricter inspection. Crew members walk the corridors with clipboards, checking names, cabin numbers, and family groups. Passengers are told to stand at their doors or line up along the walls. For many, the procedure recalls inspections in ports, cheap lodgings, and previous crossings. The crew works fast, offering almost no explanation, just calling out names and marking numbers. Whispers start to spread in low voices. Some say it is a safety check, others talk about dropping temperatures outside and small adjustments to the Titanic's route. As the Titanic steams further north, cold becomes part of daily life in third class. The metal walls and bed frames feel colder to the touch, and the air seems sharper even inside the enclosed corridors. Passengers begin to wear coats and shawls inside the ship, not just out on deck. Extra blankets are handed out in some sections, but they are not always enough for everyone in each cabin. Children sleep in more layers of clothing, and many adults prefer not to take off their coats at night. The ship follows its planned course, but the bodies of those in the lower levels record every drop in temperature. It is late at night on the third-class decks, and movement in the corridors slows down. Many passengers are already asleep, but those still awake notice something subtle. The sound of the engines feels different. The vibration in the floor changes rhythm for a few moments, as if the ship were adjusting power or direction. There are no alarms, no official warnings, just brief pauses, sharper metallic noises, and a quiet sense of waiting. Some passengers trade quick looks, others stay still, just listening. In third class, information does not reach them, but their bodies register it. That night, the Titanic does not sound exactly the same. After the subtle change in the engine noise, the Titanic seems to return to its normal rhythm. Even so, in third class, many passengers keep thinking about the different vibration from the night before. Some mention it quietly in the corridors, others avoid talking about it, but take longer to fall asleep. Daily life resumes, lines for meals, bathroom routines, trips up to the deck. Still, there is a new habit of listening more carefully to the ship, as if every metallic echo might mean something important. Life goes on down below, but now with heightened attention to every sound coming from the hull. After that restless night, the third-class routine seems steady again. Meals follow the same schedule, the corridors fill up, and the dining room returns to its usual clatter of cutlery and low conversations. Children go back to playing, even more bundled up, while adults once again talk about work and new chances in America. For anyone looking only at the surface, everything appears just like the previous days. But for many, there is now a sharper awareness of how fragile their situation on board really is. Normality continues, yet it carries the memory that the ship can change its behavior without warning. In third class on the Titanic, much of what these people leave behind fits into a few pages of paper. Letters, notes, and photographs are kept in small suitcases, inside pockets, and makeshift boxes. During the crossing, many use their free hours to write to family members back in Europe, describing the voyage and their plans on the new continent. Some record simple details: the size of the ship, the food, the cold, the company of other immigrants. Others write just to make sure that someone, somewhere, knows they were on board. These are discreet records that often never reached their destinations, but they reveal the human scale of third class. In third class on the Titanic, daily life forges bonds between people who had never met before this journey. When a blanket is missing, someone shares. When a child cries, neighbors offer a lap or a distraction. Older passengers get help climbing the narrow stairs and settling onto benches in the common room. Resources are limited, but the way they organize themselves tries to make up for what the ship does not provide in comfort. Little by little, neighboring cabins turn into an informal support network. Amid steel, engine noise, and tight compartments, quiet acts of kindness make the crossing more bearable. Between one meal and the next, many third-class passengers talk about what they hope to find in America. Some mention jobs in factories, on the docks, or in construction. Others dream of small pieces of land to farm. Parents explain to their children that the crossing is only the beginning of a much bigger change. Improvised maps, handwritten addresses, and city names pass from hand to hand at the tables and in the corridors. Few know exactly what they will face, but almost all believe there will be more opportunities than what they left behind. As the Titanic cuts across the Atlantic, these plans fill the minds of those traveling on the lowest decks. Before the disaster, there are signs, but they pass almost unseen in third class. Some crew members seem more hurried, crossing corridors with less small talk and more contained urgency. On deck, there are more frequent looks toward the dark sea and the horizon, as if they were searching for something. At certain times, doors that used to sit slightly open now stay firmly shut. Down in third class, these details feel like small mood swings in the ship, with no clear explanation. The routine continues, but subtle movements hint at adjustments and worries in other parts of the Titanic. Another night settles over third class on the Titanic, with routines that are starting to repeat. The corridors grow quieter, and the sound of the engines once again dominates everything in the background. Families turn in early, trying to save their strength for arrival. A few people still linger in the common rooms, wrapped in coats, stretching out the last conversations before sleep. Outside, the sea darkens quickly and the wind feels colder than on previous days. For those living on the lower decks, it is just one more night of the crossing. They have no idea how many are left. The next morning, many third-class passengers wake up more tired than on the first days. Their bodies have grown used to the engine noise, but the strain of the trip and the constant cold are starting to wear them down. The corridors fill up again, but footsteps are slower and conversations shorter. At the same time, expectation grows. With each passing day, the idea of getting closer to America feels more real. Families begin to pack their bags and organize documents more carefully, as if disembarkation could be called at any moment. Between fatigue and hope, the routine shows the marks of a crossing that is nearing its end. As the voyage goes on, many third-class passengers think more often about what they left in Europe. Simple homes, familiar streets, elderly relatives, and underpaid jobs stay alive in their memory. Some feel relief for having left. Others carry guilt for those who stayed behind. Worn photographs, small objects, and shared accents serve as bridges to that recent past. Conversations mix memories and comparisons. The weather, the smell of the cities, the pace of village life. While the Titanic sails toward America, third class still lives between a world that no longer exists and another that has not started yet. After the disaster, most Titanic stories focus on the ship's grandeur and on the most famous figures. Third class often appears only as numbers on lists. How many boarded, how many survived. Daily routines, bonds formed on board, and plans for America are rarely mentioned. Unsent letters, lost belongings, and barely recorded names push these lives to the margins of official memory. Later accounts highlight the grand salons and command decisions, but almost never describe these narrow corridors. Over time, the experience of third class becomes a quiet part of Titanic history, present more in the hull than on the printed page. From the upper decks, the Titanic is a symbol of luxury and cutting-edge engineering. From third class, it is a maze of narrow corridors, cramped cabins, and scarce common spaces. From down there, close to the hull, passengers feel most clearly every vibration, every change in sound, every shift in temperature. They do not stroll through elegant salons. They move between steel bulkheads, metal staircases, and locked doors. Even so, it is on these lower levels that the ship shows most starkly the contrast between the promise of a brighter future and the limits imposed by social structure. To understand the Titanic through third class is to see the ship not only from above, but also from the base that holds it up. On the third-class levels, many believe there are only a few days left until they disembark. Suitcases start to be packed in a more definitive way, and documents are tucked into inside pockets and cloth bags. Some agree on where they will meet after the port, trading addresses and street names in cities they have never seen. Others just hope to arrive, with no detailed plans, relying on acquaintances or vague job promises. No one down there knows that many of these journeys will be cut short before they even begin. In that moment, third class stands on the brink of a new beginning, unaware of how the name Titanic will be remembered. Today, when people talk about the Titanic, they almost always picture the ship's grandeur and its luxurious interiors. But an essential part of this crossing took place here in third class, among narrow corridors and cramped cabins. The official records list numbers, name lists, and only a few lines about those who traveled on the lower decks. From fragments of letters, testimonies, and documents, historians and researchers try to rebuild these invisible routines. Each bunk, each table, and each porthole stands for a specific story of departure, loss, or hope. When third class moves to the center of the narrative, the Titanic stops being only a symbol of grand tragedy and becomes a portrait of ordinary lives in motion.